Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about party etiquette. We've all attended parties and we've all had parties of our own. While I don't think that most of us are sitting there critiquing our fellow party guests and hosts, I mean, we're there to have a good time, right? But there have been times when I'm sure we all have been in situations where we're just not sure what to do as the guest or the host. And we've all committed a faux pas sometimes. Everybody makes mistakes, nobody's perfect. So here are a few pointers in terms of party etiquette that are based on things that I have either wondered about or experienced. So first, let's talk invitations. Before you have a party, you usually send out invitations, whether it's online or in the mail. One nice thing that you might want to keep in mind in terms of who to invite is, let's say you're really good friends with Rachel and Phoebe. You definitely want to invite them. You're sort of friends with Monica, but she's also friends with Rachel and Phoebe, sort of friends with you. It might be nice to just include Monica because she might find out about the party and feel left out if you don't invite her. Now, it's your prerogative to not invite Monica if you don't want to, but it might be nice to include her. And it's definitely not any of the guests' place to tell you who you should and shouldn't invite. So, it's your party, your prerogative, but it's also nice to include people who may not have been top of mind, but are also mutual friends. It might be nice to include them. It's all up to you. And if you're a guest, don't discuss the party in front of people that aren't invited. It's just not nice. I was taught by my mom when I was little. When you're little and you go to birthday parties, I was always taught to not discuss the party with or talk about the party in front of anybody who wasn't invited. The host had to cut the list off somewhere. They couldn't possibly invite everyone they know. And so that might, they might not have invited somebody, not because they don't like them, but just because they did have to cut the guest list off somewhere. And discussing it in front of someone just is simply not nice. And sometimes you don't know who was invited and who wasn't. We've all made the mistake of mentioning a party in front of somebody who we assumed was invited and for some reason wasn't. A good way to figure that out, if the invitation was online, is to take a look at the guest list. That is nice to see because then you can see who was invited, who wasn't, and then you won't talk about the party in front of somebody who was not invited. Now let's talk about refreshments. As the host, you want to make sure that you have plenty of food and beverages for your guests. It's just a nice thing to do to make your guests feel welcome. You want to err on the side of having too much. You can always freeze the leftovers and snack on them later. In terms of planning your menu, you want to choose foods that will be universally appealing. You definitely want to choose things that most people will probably like. If you know that a guest has special dietary requirements or even preferences, definitely make sure you have some things that they can have as well. You don't have to make the menu all about them, but just make sure you've got things that everybody can have. If you don't cook, that's okay. Nobody is expecting you to be Julia Child or Martha Stewart. You can certainly do frozen appetizers. I can cook and I do frozen appetizers for my parties and my guests love them. You certainly don't have to be a chef to have a nice party. You can find really nice frozen appetizers at your local grocery store. Trader Joe's has them, Target has them if you have a Target with a grocery section. They will be a big hit and they will be very easy to just stick in the oven and serve to your guests. If your party is at dinner time, you definitely need to serve dinner, and if it is not during dinner time, then snacks and desserts are great. The frozen appetizers work really well, nice little desserts are good. If you're not sitting at a table, finger foods are the way to go because it's kind of hard to juggle multiple plates and forks and your beverage and all that. So finger foods are great if you're not sitting at a table. And then if you have budgetary constraints, consider a potluck. So sometimes when you have a party, you want to provide all of the refreshments and that is fine. But other times a potluck is in order. So if it is the norm in your group of friends, then you can certainly include in the invitation for guests to please bring either an appetizer, a dessert, a side dish, or whatever it is you'd like them to bring to share. And then if it's not the norm, mention it to a few friends and see how they react to it. If you ask, I'm sure most people are happy to bring something, but just see if it's something that for whatever reason might be frowned upon in your group of friends, then, see how it goes. But for the most part, I think most people are happy to bring something. If you're a guest and you signed up to bring something specific, whether it's a specific dish or a specific category of food, definitely stick with what you signed up to bring. The host is counting on you to bring what you signed up to bring. If you bring something else, you might have duplicates and the guests might miss out on what you said you'd bring. You also don't want to bring food if the host has not asked you to. So if the host did not include in the invitation to bring some sort of food to share, then you don't want to bring food. I have made that mistake before, and the host is kind of like, oh, thanks, because it can ruin the spread or the theme that the host has planned. So definitely don't bring food unless you're asked to. And if you are the host, as I had said previously, you have to have plenty of refreshments on hand. You cannot just throw a bag of chips on the table and call it a day. That does not cut it. Chips are great, but they should be one of many things you have to serve your guests. And another thing as a party guest, speaking of chips, etc., no double dipping. Most of us have seen that Seinfeld episode. Double dipping is disgusting. Nobody wants anything to do with anybody else's saliva. It's gross. Do not double dip. I don't care if you're with your family or with friends or with strangers. No double dipping. If it's a casual get-together, like when my friend had a few of us over every week to watch The Bachelor or Bachelorette, then it can be a lot more casual. Sometimes my friend would provide the ingredients to, say, English muffin pizzas, and that would be our dinner, and we would do that. But other times, one of us would bring something, or all of us might bring something. It was very, very casual. In that case, if there is a bag of chips that you have been wanting to try or that you've been craving, you grab it at the store on your way there, and then you pass it around while you're watching the show. Things like that. We often brought our own beverages too, so it was very casual, it worked, and it was a lot of fun. Now, even if you don't bring food to the party, you don't want to arrive at a party empty-handed. So if you don't bring food, you want to bring something like a bottle of wine, or a small box of chocolates or candy, or some sort of small hostess gift, like you could do guest soaps, or maybe a cute pad of paper and a matching pen with their initial on it, just something nice to thank the host for inviting you. And if you and your friends get together frequently, just use your judgment. If everybody brings a little something every time they go to someone's house, then it's probably a nice thing for you to do. But if nobody does that, you might want to do it the first time you go to someone's house, but then after that, just use your judgment. Now let's talk about timing. So you put on the invitation that the party starts at 7. So as the host, you need to be ready for your guests to arrive at 7, whether they do or not. So you need to be ready for guests to arrive at the time you said the party would start. If you are a guest, acceptable arrival times depend on the type of party that it is. For open houses, it's perfectly acceptable to arrive and leave anytime between the time the invitation said the party starts and the time the invitation says the party ends. Now, for a normal party that's not a dinner party or an open house, you probably want to get there anytime between the time the invitation says the party starts and 10 minutes after. You don't want to be too late because then people are going to stand around awkwardly waiting for other people to arrive. So guests should trickle in between the time the invitation says the party starts and 10 minutes after. If it's a dinner party, you want to get there on time. The host may have stated in the invitation that the party starts at 7 but dinner will be served at 7:30, but don't arrive right at 7:30 or even after that. The host wants people to have a drink, mingle, get settled in, and then serve dinner in a leisurely way. You don't want to be late because your host is serving dinner and you don't want people to wait for you to eat. So you definitely want to be polite to your host and be on time to a dinner party. Now, if you do have to be late, definitely let your host know in advance if you can. And if that's impossible, then just slip in quietly and go with the flow of the evening. Now let's talk about RSVPing. If you need to decline an invitation, you're not under any obligation to give a reason why. You can if you want to, but just keeping it at a polite, friendly, thanks so much for the invite, I can't make it this time, have fun, is all you need. However, if you RSVP'd yes originally and you need to change it to a no, then it's nice to give a reason. And also, don't take it personally if someone declines your party invitation. There may be plenty of reasons why they can't make it to your party that have nothing to do with you. If they're otherwise friends with you, but they just can't make it to your parties, that's okay. It probably has nothing to do with you. They probably like you just fine, but certainly don't take it personally if they decline. So let me know in the comments section some of the funniest party faux pas you've seen. Be sure and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and have you seen the video below? If not, why don't you give it a click and check it out? See you all next time. Bye!